About a month ago, I made a critical diatribe on the Wano Kuni arc. What that is pretty simple. A critical diatribe is just an overview on something I believe to be poorly written. In that video, I covered almost every problem I had with Wano, small to large alike, and I made it obvious that I think this arc is terrible. At the heart of this discussion was Kaido. I rarely mention in the video, but Kaido is one of the weirdest characters ever written ever. As the title says, we will explore this essential question: was Kaido's character retconned? Kaido as a character is incredibly enigmatic, with some arguing he's fully complete in Wano, while others say there's more context we'll discover later in the series. I'm here to say no, this character does not work like that, and if he does, that is also bad writing. The structure of this video will be pretty tight, and if you enjoy content like this, subscribe because you'll get more videos and we both see the number go up, up, up. The first question we have to ask about Kaido is not even about him. Let's ask if Oda is even capable of retconning things. In a story 20 years long, many people will say absolutely. However, One Piece fans will argue differently, saying that Oda is so special because he doesn't retcon things. Some mangakas like Kishimoto or Rocky write things as they go. As a result, they have to force things into the story for it to work, or just retcon things that don't agree with the story they want to tell. So is it even in character for Oda to retcon? The short answer, yes. The long answer is when it's necessary. I'm not talking about small things like Mr. 3 swimming. I mean complete objective retcons. We can find an example in Katakuri. Katakuri's original devil fruit was stated to be a Logia. Oda seemingly didn't like this and wanted to keep the nature motif, so he retconned it to be a special paramecia, the only one we have or will ever see, by the way. One can ask, what does this change, but I will say it doesn't need to have a big change or anything. It is a pretty shameless retcon for seemingly no reason. Another retcon is Pluton being in Wano. I explained it in my big Wano video, but I'll re-explain it for this video. Pluton being in Wano was a retcon based on the character motivations, actions, and statements in chapter 205 and 218. When Crocodile and Robin find the poneglyph, Robin lies about what was written to avoid giving Crocodile the weapon. Crocodile knew this was a lie based on Cobra's reaction and resolved to find the weapon regardless. When Crocodile is defeated, Cobra asks Robin why did she lie. She laments that it's a shame that he knew the entire time. Cobra then says if Robin had told him what was really written there, then he would have gotten the weapon and subsequently taken over the kingdom. Like I said in the video, this dialogue directly implicates Pluton being in Alabasta, not in Wano. It wouldn't even make sense logically for Robin to lie if the weapon was never in their grasp. All of this is to say that yes, Oda can retcon things, small and large alike. Oda is a genius. I will make fun of him in several different ways, but Oda is nothing far from a literal genius. I think mistakes in a story does not take away from the overall quality of the story. Regardless, I still think One Piece is generally great despite the retcons and all. One Piece is far from the worst thing I've ever read. After establishing that Oda has retconned things before, let's examine Kaido. This isn't Tekking 101, however. Despite us not formally meeting Kaido until much later in Wano, we have a lot of context before this point. Kaido has multiple mentions and cameos throughout the post-time skip. Most authors tend to feed breadcrumbs of the incoming plot to make it more digestible to the audience. For example, Ichigo's true race and his mother's origins are teased throughout the entire series. Kaido has many mentions in the pre-time skip that all go to hype up his strength and notoriety. Every mention of Kaido before a face reveal is entirely strength related. Oda wants the audience to know first and foremost that Kaido is strong, stronger than everyone before him. One of the weirdest and contentious interactions in One Piece history is Kaido meeting Shanks outside of Marineford. We don't know what actually happened there, nor will we ever likely find out why. Next, we get more complex detailing from Kaido. Kaido wants to be king of the pirates and even has multiple road poneglyphs to reach his goal. Despite this, he goes to jump off a sky island in a literal suicide attempt. Immediately afterward, he says he will unleash the biggest war the world has ever seen. Following this, it's revealed that Kaido put Oden to death because of the One Piece. Most interestingly though, it is revealed that Kinemon and the gang have been chased down by Kaido's associates in order to interrogate them. Kinemon believes Kaido thinks it's because they have information on the secrets of the world. Funny, because Oden never told his most trusted, bestest friends for an extra motivation for opening the borders, he just wrote it down in a book for anyone to read. Later, we see Kaido presumably in Wano, but I guess the narrator is just being kawaii. He reacts to the news with Jack and Doflamingo. he is a crying drunk. He immediately shifts into angry drunk. He cites Luffy and Law as being the same as Kid, victims in the making. One would expect this isn't just some quirky idiosyncrasy. The final thing before getting into Wano is Big Mom's statement. Luffy says he's gonna go defeat Kaido and then come back to beat her too. She responds saying he will never beat that thing. Again, building up Kaido's notoriety and threat. This is almost everything about Kaido before we step into Wano. As a general writing rule, it is much easier to explore the limits of ideas in a space that is constructed around. It is easier to learn about Doflamingo's origins and true character and motivations in an arc where he's supposed to be defeated in. Doflamingo's speech during Marineford is a great example of a breadcrumb. Of course, this makes sense later what we find out in Dressrosa. Therefore, Wano is supposed to contextualize and make sense of all these previous breadcrumbs we find. So, let's get into Wano. Immediately jumping into Wano, oh my God, something is wrong. We learned that Kaido has been enslaving all of Wano. This was not implied prior. This development was associated with the Orochi, but it's Kaido's forces to do such a thing. Why does Kaido do this though? He is aware that it's causing suffering to Wano, and unlike Big Mom, who looks to have her own personal utopia, Kaido's motivations seem to be entirely written under subjugation and entrapment. This wasn't explored prior to Wano, nor is it really expanded upon later. It is a pretty important facet to any character to learn why they do bad things. This seems to be entirely lost in Wano. I'm aware his backstory could fund a more violent and sociopathic nature. Vague hints are relevant to real characterization and making sense of character motivations. Immediately jumping into Wano, we get a facet of Kaido's character that is never answered, never explored, and never actually contextualized. This is just bad writing from Oda. If I ask you why does Doflamingo enslave the people of Dressrosa, you'll be able to answer lightning fast. On the opposite, you'll be beating your head trying to answer why does Kaido do the same thing but likely worse. Since we're on the topic of things not being fulfilled, what about Kaido's drinking? This isn't the same as Dofi's walk or Caesar laughing. This is a personal affinity that directly affects the way he acts. Drinkers in general drink to forget their problems and etc. Why couldn't Kaido's character go a similar direction? It could have been a great development with Kaido saying pirates will betray you when they know you'll lose. More than that, why is Kaido suicidal? He wants to literally kill himself, but for what reason? I could see it being to complete himself as a person, but writing that can't be congruent with what we already know. Kaido does want a proud death, but he obviously still wants the One Piece and to be Pirate King. This desire to be Pirate King is underpinned in the breadcrumbs we see. Kaido is actively hunting Kinemon and his gang for knowledge on the One Piece. But wait, if Kaido wants to find the One Piece and is hunting Kinemon and his gang for it, why did he not ask them while fighting? Wait, stop the show. If Kaido is trying to find the One Piece and is hunting Kinemon and his gang for information they might have, why did Kaido not talk to Oden once? Wait, what? We have a panel of Kaido and Oden fighting before the twerking started. Those are two separate instances of Kaido having the opportunity to accomplish his goals, but he doesn't take it. This isn't complex character writing of him secretly not wanting to find the One Piece. Everything about him wants to find the One Piece. We don't know Kaido's entire goal, but that's unnecessary to his immediate desire, which is to find the One Piece and start a war with the world itself. Oda wrote a character that is hunting down our allies in pursuit of fulfilling his own motivations. Then Oda wrote the same character forgetting his own motivations as he does not question or subdue or interrogate Oden in any way possible. Guess what though? Not only is its character not acting in character to his later motivations, there are newer facets added to this guy. Out of Kaido's own mouth, he believes he's the only person who can change the world, and it takes a mythical godlike figure to beat him if he is not already it. What? Oda introduced new facets to the character of Kaido, but not only are they super random, they have the development of Takemichi. Kaido asks Luffy arbitrary questions like what kind of world would you make? This holds absolutely no weight whatsoever. Kaido in Wano is an absolutely completely different character from what we saw previously inside the story. But his conclusion truly tells me something went wrong in his character. Ah, hell nah. Oh, fuck that guy, I forgot. Kaido's conclusion is supposed to be the ultimate tour de force, igniting his character into this ultimate figure. Conclusions tie together the themes and messaging to enhance the character involved in the story arc itself. Conclusions and payoffs are the entire gimmick behind storytelling. Conclusions are the proverbial pearly gates to which we reach our nirvana. For so many characters, it makes or breaks them. Conclusions are the steel, fast break into a dunk where the crowd loses their mind. If One Piece characters were basketball players, Kaido will be Tony Snell. He would have a 68 overall. Kaido's conclusion literally answers nothing. Why did he drink so much? 0 points. Why did he chase down the Akazanan? 0 rebounds. Why did he come to Wano? 0 assists. Why does he believe he's the only one who can change the world? 0 blocks. Why does he want to die? 0 steals. 500 chapters of build-up. People who defend Kaido's character usually fall into one of these camps. Everything about him is inside Wano, and you just have to interpret it properly to come to the right conclusions. Reading comprehension diff. Kaido's conclusion is done in Wano, but we still have later characterization that makes sense of earlier stuff. Job not finished type beat. Kaido is not done and will come back post Wano to finish his character. Be patient, goat is goddess. These defenses are and will always be shite. People equally coming to 3 separate conclusions means the writer didn't properly establish a through line to interpret the character. Even the most complex characters like Johan are still capable of being understood. Every single full-length Kaido analysis or video essay I have seen has always incorporated some iota of headcanon to piece together his strenuous dialogue. This character simply doesn't work. To me, Kaido was retconned. Obviously, the biggest piece of evidence to this is him literally forgetting his own motivations in front of Odin and Kinemon. Kaido wants to fight people in fair 1v1s. Why? Pirates are dirty and play tricks, yet he despises this. How did that happen? When you look at this dialogue, it only gives the illusion of a character grander than his circumstance, but it's never actually contextual nor substantiated. AKA, this is bad writing. For all we know, Kaido could come back as the final villain of the story and one-shot Luffy to become Pirate King. We don't know if Kaido is alive or not, meaning his character is essentially on a TBD. He's getting quite the mention in the current flashbacks, but so far it's nothing substantial and revolves around stuff we already know. I think Kaido's future is looking grimmer than Wolfgang. We pretty much touched upon how untouched his character really is, and I think there's no addition that can be done to turn this character magically good. Kaido needed to be resolved in the Wano arc. Everything about him needed to be explained in this arc. All this dialogue like I'm here because it's Wano needed to be resolved in this arc. The essential problem with Kaido is that he constantly alludes to something larger and bigger with his character and his goals, but it doesn't veer its head at all. Kaido became suicidal and depressed despite wanting to be the Pirate King. How did that happen? A lot of people, myself included, believe that this must have been because of the God Valley incident, because that's the only way I can imagine Oda trying to make sense of it. Like I said though, Kaido needed to be explained within this arc. Kaido will never be more relevant in an arc where he is the main antagonist. Regardless, Kaido is a miss in the series. Kaido is one of the most anti-written characters I have ever read, and it is astonishing how people can justify or defend this guy. It reminds me of Eren, but if Eren was actually completely disjointed instead of just broken. Kaido and Big Mom are the worst antagonists in the series and get slammed by every villain. Yes, even Gecko Moria.